have brought up. Whereas the Muslims dealt with these things, that they are to be protected. So, and then his name is Abu Muhammad Abdul Aziz ibn Abdul Salam, and he was Shafi'i, but he also mastered the Maliki madhab. And then he says, Nafa'allahu bihi al-Muslimin, may Allah benefit the Muslims by him. And see, even today, 800 years after he wrote this book, we're here in California benefiting by his words. And so the dua was answered. May we benefit by this Imam. وَلَهُ وَلِجَمِيعَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and all the believers. غَفَرَ لَنَا وَلَهُ وَلِجَمِيعَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, may Allah forgive us and him and all the believers. لِلْمَصَائِبِ وَالْمِحَنِ وَالْبَلَايَ وَالرَّزَايَا فَوَائِدُ تَخْتَلِفُ بِاخْتِلَافِ رُتَبِ النَّاسِ. Calamities and tests and tribulations and disasters have different benefits based upon the different ranks of people. Now, this is an important idea. Rutba is a rank. It's used in modern Arabic in military rank. The rutab are the ranks that people are in relation to Allah. So just as you have in the military, because وَمَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودَ إِلَّا هُوَ جُنُودَ رَبِّكَ إِلَّا هُوَ. Nobody knows the armies of your Lord except Allah. So Allah has junud. Now, people have different ranks. You have generals, you have colonels, and then even within that you have ranks. And then you have majors and captains and lieutenants and sergeants and corporals. People are ranks. Now, in the people of the Zahir actually wear uniforms to let them know what their ranks are. In Islam, those ranks are hidden. You don't know the stations of people with Allah. It's something Allah has hidden. One of the ulama said that Allah hid three things. أَخْفَى ثَلَاثَ فِي ثَلَاث. He hid three things in three things. He hid his rida fi ta'atihi. He hid his contentment in his obedience. So in other words, you never know what Allah will accept from you. Allah might not accept a great thing you did that was an act of obedience, but He might accept a small thing, like the prostitute who was forgiven for giving a dog water. That's the reason that she was forgiven, for giving a dog water. So Allah has hidden His contentment in His obedience. وَأَخْفَى سَخَطَهُ فِي مَعْصِيَتِهِ. And He hid His wrath in disobedience. So the woman who locked up the cat and went to hell for locking up a cat, that was the thing. She obviously, that's an indication of her state. She was obviously a cruel woman, because if you don't have compassion with animals, it's a sign of cruelty. And in our society, we know that children that are abusive to animals and torture animals when they're young often end up becoming very abusive when they're old. So there's a relationship between kindness towards animals and kindness towards humans. And that is why, one of the reasons why every prophet was a shepherd. Because they learned to be gentle to animals, because that is a transitional phase into being gentle to... Because if you're kind to animals, you should certainly seem that you would be kind to humans, which are we're the highest on that chain, hierarchy of beings. So, I mean, people say, you wouldn't treat a dog like that. You know, like, why are you treating me like that? You know, well, because dogs are faithful and you were unfaithful. So he says benefits are based on the differences of the ranks of people. So for some people, a tribulation removes wrongs. Imam al-Ghazali radiallahu anhu said that there are wrongs in this world that are only removed by depression. That, you know, if you're wondering why people get depressed from dhunub. I mean, and also the soul. You see, I don't care what anybody says about alternative lifestyles and all these people out there doing, I guarantee you, people have trouble in their soul. You can numb it, you can preoccupy yourself, you can entertain yourself, you can do all these things to not deal with the soul's anguish, but you cannot remove the anguish of the soul. It's not possible. Which is why, Marx said religion is the opiate of the masses, and Abdul Hakim Winter said, but opium is the religion of the masses. That's the idol, is escape from reality. That's what they're worshiping, because they'll do anything for that idol. And all they're trying to do is numb the pain of existence. But the existence is painful because you are not fulfilling your function. And when you don't fulfill your function, there's always trouble. And anytime anything in the body is not fulfilling its function, what is the first sign to let you know that you should go to a doctor? Pain. There's some type of disquietude in the body to let you know it's not fulfilling its function. So if suddenly you've got this pain in your liver, and you go and he says, you've got hepatitis. That pain was to let you know the function has been disrupted. The same is true for the soul. If you're not fulfilling your function, which is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, testify to His unity, and to behave accordingly, then you will be in pain and suffering until you come into accordance. And that's a gift from Allah, in the same way that pain, signs and symptoms are gifts for people so that they can go to a physician and get well. If there weren't signs and symptoms, that's why hypertension is such a dangerous disease, because people can walk around and not feel any discomfort from hypertension, and they can die from it. So pain in the soul is there, but people will do things, and that's what people do. See, what kufr is essentially is covering up. Now, if you get a headache and you go and take Tylenol, you're not getting rid of the headache. You're suppressing the symptom. So if you are sick in your soul from your kufr and you go and you do things in order to remove the pain of the kufr, you're just covering up more. And that's why it's dhulumat, fawqa dhulumat. It's darknesses over covering darknesses. And you just keep covering up more and more and more until that person is so diseased that it's a hopeless case unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intervenes. But that's what happens to people. And so the ranks of people differ. Now, the prophets, upon them all be peace, the prophets have tribulation not to remove their wrongs, but to elevate them in rank. It's not to remove their wrongs. And that's the case of some of the salihin as well. It actually becomes irtifa', raf' darajat. They're moving up in degrees. And ashaddu nas ibtila'an, the people of the greatest tribulation are the prophets, and then those closest to them, and then those closest to them, and those closest to them. It's like that. Now, obviously, you can see people in the world, and you look at them, and you see tribulations. Like there's non-Muslims, and you see the tribulations that they're in, and you wonder about that. Well, according to Ibn Abbas, radiallahu anhu, that he said that there's no tribulation that doesn't have a tribulation that could be worse than it. And so it's difficult to assess what really is happening when you look at people. But this is one of the problems in religion, is suffering in the world and the different degrees of tribulation out there. And this is the way that we view tribulation for the believer. For people outside of Islam, there's a whole other set of rules working, because when you know things, you have an accountability that is not included when you do not know things. And one of the things that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said that he noticed